Greetings, YouTube. The MCOC Journal, which you can see on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, has some fantastic resources for you to learn about in the contest. And of course, this is brought to you by Mr. Otriux, the data mining legend known in the community for not just data mining information, but sometimes just going ahead, above and beyond, and even discovering like new releases and champions and even crystal openings and limited crystals. We've seen him data mine just about everything in the contest for years. So big shout out to him. And just have to say that these early specs for the new champions, which even though they have very similar names to champions already in the contest, they are completely separate in terms of who they are. They are not affiliated with the previous versions of Vision and Black Widow. So let's jump in and just look at these together and see what we think, starting with the new Vision. Now, here's the deal. The abilities: chilled air, constantly chilling the area near him every percentage of seconds, or every seconds, I should say, the opponent spins near. They gain an armor break debuff, decreasing armor rating. So this reminds me in a way of Omega Red, where the more close you are to the opponent, the faster it is to break them down. And if you're an attacker and you stay close to the opponent and you build up those armor breaks, you'd think you could do some pretty crazy damage pretty fast. Now the heavy consumes some power gain buff to finish current power bar. For example, if he has 1.5 bars of power, this sets his power to 2 bars. That's pretty awesome too for those of you like me who love to parry and heavy attack. Now the power of the Smoke World: draw strength from the Smoke World dimension at all times. Starts the fight with a power gain buff and gains for every percentage of seconds. He also gains 1 whenever his power is drained or he receives a power lock debuff. These buffs last indefinitely, which is awesome, and each grant a percentage of a bar of power every 2 seconds, max of something. Whenever the opponent activates a special attack, 1 power gain buff is nullified. And then the armor break timer: gain an armor break debuff when this expires. The frozen air, we've talked about. Opponents near Vision gain a cold snap debuff, which we haven't seen too often in the game outside of Iceman. And then Vision signature ability is on cooldown, and cooldown it is. I'm about to sneeze as a warning. Whew. Whew, bless me. Apparently, I'm allergic to cooldown effects. All right, special attack: Spiral of Smoke. Rises up on a tornado of smoke and vapor, then slams into his opponent, knocking them back with the force of a gale. Each hit refreshes all armor break debuffs on the opponent. If the opponent is armor shattered, this attack deals bonus energy damage. Special 2: conjures a blast of frozen energy, snow, and ice, chilling his opponents to the core. Replace all armor break debuffs on the opponent with 1 armor shattered debuff. Talk to the Hand: vanishes into the ground in a puff of smoke, then uses the energy of Smoke World to grow his hand to gargantuan size. I cannot wait to look at this. It's going to look some very, very interesting animations. He tortures the opponent for a brief time before picking them up and slamming them into the wall. Increases the area his abilities affect to cover the entire field for X amount of seconds. If the opponent is armor shattered when this attack is activated, gain a Fury buff, increasing attack rating by such and such seconds. And then the synergies, which is pretty exciting. Vision with Visions, that makes sense. And Iceman also makes sense. Mysterio, pretty interesting stuff. And so yeah, we're going to have to see how those work. As somebody who owns a 565 OG Vision, that always excites me when he can be in the running for a nice synergy upgrade. And signature ability: Vision uses connection to the Smoke World. I keep wanting to say Smoke Weed, which is redundant, to shrug off non-damaging debuffs, and then gains a non-damaging buff. He has a percentage chance to purify all non-damaging. So I see this champion personally, and Lord knows I have been wrong before. The biggest, of course, being Ghost, who on paper I felt like was maybe going to be better as a defender, and that's probably the worst take of all time. Again, sometimes you just got to take the L. And when it came to that prediction, I can just laugh at myself and be like, wow, you sound like such an idiot now. But we're going to move on to Black Widow Clairvoyant. And we are going to specifically look at some interesting immunities. Now, this champion is more fascinating to me because there just seems like there's more mystery involved in how to play her. And I think she can, depending on her specials and how hard it is to dex them. I think she could be a solid defender. On paper, that's what I see. Again, I have been very wrong before, and then sometimes I've been right. I looked at Korg and thought, well, that's going to be a BS defender, and I think for the most part he has been. But Claire has 2 types of curses. Each provides her with a different immunity. However, only one curse can be active at a time. That's the part that's kind of like a little bit of a bummer to me, but maybe that'll actually be good for attacking champions because we don't want too many curses too fast. By default, the Curse of Blood is active. So this is kind of what I would imagine to be an answer to Blade, because since she is a champion of the Mystic class, a class that really, really needs a good champion, and Diablo is certainly not it, you're not going to be able to start off by stacking those bleeds with parries, for example. All right, so Curse of Blood grants bleed immunity, causes certain cursed effects to trigger bleed on the opponent. Same with Plague, only it's poison. Same with Hellfire, only it's incinerate. And there are not too many champions in the game who are incinerate immune, so that's pretty significant. Clairvoyant's charge, while at 1 or more charges landing or receiving attacks, nullifies a buff from the opponent. So there is going to be some nullify effects with this champion, just like with so many Mystic champions out there. Death Touch increases the potency on curse effects. And then Death Immunity. This champion is immune to death and regenerates health over time. Reminds me of somebody like Hela or Phoenix. And so, yeah, when we talk about the signature ability of her, grants immunity to death under certain circumstances when receiving damage that would knock her out. Death Touch is removed, and instead, Claire gains a death immunity buff, preventing death and healing a percentage of her max health over 2 seconds. So maybe it's a little bit like Nick Fury as well. By the way, champion synergies, Black Widow, of course, with Human Torch. So we got some interesting Mephisto and Sunspot. And then just some interesting specials as well. Summoning a blast from the Underworld, Claire curses her opponent. So we've got some curse. This kind of reminds me of Ghost Rider because we've got curses going on. We've got a sealing the opponent's fate, which also is very much a Ghost Rider thing. But the Curse of Blood, the Curse of Plague, Curse of Hellfire, whether it's bleed, whether it's poison, whether it's incinerate, it's fascinating. And I do think this champion, like the new, not skin, but just different Vision with the same sort of name, since, we've got Black Widow with parentheses and Vision with maybe not parentheses. These are going to be fascinating champions. On paper, I think it's going to be a fascinating month and something that we're just going to have to wait and see. I very much am hesitant now to automatically say this person's going to be a god tier champion or this person's going to be trash because we don't know. I don't think the majority of the community, certainly, even the content creators themselves, thought that Corvus was going to be miles ahead of Proxima when their info was released. In fact, I remember Proxima being like Star-Lord 10.0 and Corvus kind of being in the background. And now I don't know anybody who lands on Proxima and gets as excited as if they land on Corvus. So things change. We have to see the animations, but Otriux in the MCOC Journal is a blessing to all in the community. I invite you to follow that man and his amazing data mining on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube because he deserves all of your support as he has mine as well. Thanks for watching YouTube. Let me know in the comments below who you're most excited about, and most importantly, have a great Monday.